Hey there, steel shooters. Carlos with a K coming your way, this time with the next episode of Mind in the Box. Today I'd like to share a little bit about the rimfire rifles that I use for steel challenge shooting. I'll show you how I keep them maintained, cleaned, and ready for a match. So stay tuned for this episode of Mind in the Box. So what I'm going to do here is I have a few Allen wrenches set up. I have a 7/64, a 1/8, and a 9/64. And I'm going to start by removing this top cover, which serves two functions. It kind of closes out the chassis itself, and it holds on to this carbon fiber tube, which allows a good holding position without having your hand directly on the barrel. There we go. So we'll pop that off. This is just the cover, and then this carbon fiber tube, just a hollow tube, kind of give you that grip. We'll set that aside. So now we can see how the rifle sits kind of right into the chassis. I've tried it without that sleeve holding here, and I just felt it was too cramped. So the next phase is to this chassis itself has the ability that if you unscrew these side pieces, I don't do it too often, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and take it down. One of the neat things is if you need to do some trigger work without wanting to remove the rifle from the chassis itself, you remove these little pins here, and you can just push your trigger pins right out and take the trigger out of the bottom of the chassis itself. Which allows you to get some maintenance in on it without needing to, again, remove it from the chassis itself. So really nice design of the Wiland chassis there that I was showcasing. Not necessarily the rifle, but the features of the chassis. Let's take down the receiver screw here, which holds the receiver into the chassis. So it's just one bolt right underneath your V-block, and the entire receiver comes out. And this is the actual firearm itself. This is the actual tactical solutions portion. And this is all made by a company called Wiland, the chassis stock that this sits in. All right, so I'm going to move the stock aside for now. Same thing with the trigger. Take all my components and set them to the side here in my Real Avid mat parts holder. Oh well. So next I'm going to remove the charging handle. I'm going to remove the bolt buffer or bolt stop. Keeps it from banging against the rear. I'm going to remove this cleaning plug. One of the reasons I really selected this rifle was the ease of cleaning. Now, I know that was a lot of screws and things that we've taken off, but you simply move the bolt to the rear. There's 3 holes located here, and you'll stick a paper clip in the rear 2 holes. And what that'll do is lock the bolt on the springs, and then you just turn it over, and the entire bolt just kind of comes out. And that leaves us with an empty receiver that we can begin to clean. And as you can see, I've only shot one match, so this is not too dirty. But you can see the buildup of carbon inside of this area here where I just had the white light. And so we're just going to clean that out, oil it up so the bolt slides pretty smooth in here. And that'll really be the main set of cleaning that we'll do today. On the bolt assembly itself, usually what I do is just take it and push it down, take my paper clip out, and be wary of the springs because they're going to pop up. For the firing pin, that's where this little third hole comes in, is you can press out the pin that holds the firing pin, and that's it. You can clean your firing pin so much easier to me than having to take a punch and knock some things out. Now, cleaning the extractor, well, that still takes a little bit more effort, but for the most part, this bolt is pretty easy to clean in comparison. to the Ruger bolt. the rear side. And it does have, the one thing that makes this pretty unique is it runs a dual spring system. So there's two springs, one on each side of the bolt instead of that single spring design. And then the firing pin, it looks, totally different than what you'd see in the Rugers. And that pin just sits here and holds it into place. So really easy to take down and work with. The reason I really went with the TacSol design, I never have malfunctions in these rifles. They just seem to work. So built like workhorses. I probably have 10,000 rounds to this rifle and it still looks pretty good. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned. I guess if you want to see how I clean normally, I've been really kind of happy with these Cleanse All wipes. And so normally what I do is just grab a wipe. I'll wipe down my bolt first. Kind of get underneath that extractor in the bolt area. Pretty good. That's where most of the buildup happens on these. And then just kind of wipe down the rest of it with another portion of the wipe here. I'll set that to the side. Wipe my firing pin down. Now I usually do this type of cleaning about every 2 matches, so it's not consistently, but every 2 matches usually I take the time to go ahead and break it down and clean it, which is why having something that takes apart so easy works best for me. So again, just kind of wipe that all down, and then I'll just fold it back on itself and keep finding a new clean spot. Wipe down the outside. And then once I have it pretty much clean the way I want it, I will grab a couple long, these are bamboo Q-tips, pretty cheap, like $6 off Amazon. But I will take one and usually use both ends, but I'm going to start with the round end. Grab a corner that it's not dirty. And then I'll use that to kind of wipe underneath the barrel in the crevices, the corners. I'll move it a little bit and then continue to do that a couple times till I kind of remove everything from the crevices around the barrel itself. I think that's where the most buildup happens, and so I like to keep that area really clean, and it makes it easy to maintain if you keep it clean versus letting it build up and build up and build up and then trying to do a large cleaning at once. Once I've done that, then I'll take the sharper end of the Q-tip and I'll use that to go in and kind of do the same thing again. Crevices all around the barrel. It lets me get a little bit tighter in. The next piece I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same Q-tip, another clean spot, and I'm going to work the edges of the bolt around where the rifling sits and the extractor itself. So I'm just going to take this and kind of wipe around there, and you'll see these, like, there's actually a piece of grit that came out, or grit of lead that came out, even though it seemed clean. And so normally I can get like 2 or 3 more passes into this area. Really important to keep that area kind of from building up, in my opinion. Make sure that 1022 round sits right into that face, so you don't want kind of anything blocking that at all. So I usually give this area pretty good 4 or 5 tries till there's nothing there, and then I take a white Q-tip itself and kind of run it through there without anything else, so I can really make contact and see what's dirty. And then once I've done that, I'll use the pointy end to really get under that extractor. and make sure that area is as clean as possible. And so if you can see, there's some pretty good space in between the extractor and the bolt. Like there's actually a space that you can see, which is exactly what I want. And we'll take this one more time, and I'm going to clean. I'm not going to clean the extractor area this go around. I'm just going to kind of wipe it off. Make sure it's springy. The Clenzols do have a lot of oil on them, so you tend to get it all over yourself. So I do usually keep a t-shirt handy, and I use that spare t-shirt to then wipe everything off. What it also does is show me if I missed anything, so like I can see the dirt as it appears on the shirt. I then usually take a couple of just spare square, and I use an M7 Pro, the gun oil. It's just, I had some and I tried it and never had a problem with it. I just kind of wipe down the bolt itself. And again, just kind of looking to see where I may have missed. So by wiping this down with just oil, I can see exactly where I might have missed a spot cleaning, or something's still dirty. And I usually do the entire piece again, just one more time. And as you can see, like I just got a pretty dirty spot right here from the face of the bolt. And so I'm going to go ahead and take my Q-tip with these and just kind of clean one more time. But I think I got it with that little area. All right, so that's my bolt. I'm going to do the same thing with the firing pin, just to put a slight coat of oil on it. I don't like to leave a lot of oil on rimfires because of the blowback design. To me, if you leave a lot of oil, it attracts the lead to stick more. So more oil causes the lead to stick more versus, that's just my theory on it, sharing with you guys. So while I wipe with a light coat of oil using these little squares, I don't usually oil it any more than that. I'm going to take my firing pin. We'll take these and kind of wipe this spring down a little bit. Again, I like to put a light coil on everything, and so I'll just kind of work it into this spring, clean any excess dirt that's on the spring off while I'm doing that. And this is pretty easy. Again, that little pin goes in this top hole here. And so you just kind of insert your firing pin, make sure that this kind of U-shaped opening faces that little mark, push it in, and then drop your pin in, and looks like it's working good. As you do this in reverse, I just set these down and go slow, and then right here all the way down, add my paper clip, and the bolt's ready to go back in. What I haven't done is wipe down this. We'll take a couple more swabs and wipe down the inside of the receiver. Just give it, again, a good sheen, but not overkill on any oil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I have some smaller squares here, and I'm just going to put a bit of oil on those smaller squares. And I'm going to stick it right in front of the I'm gonna stick it right in front of the barrel, and then I'm just gonna take a Q-tip and I'm gonna shove it. There's one too many. I'm gonna shove it right through the barrel. And I just take another Q-tip and push that one on through. And the third one goes right out the other end, by the way. So by the time we get to 3, it's popping out. And then the others just slide out. I usually do that a couple times just to kind of put a little bit of lube in the barrel and see how dirty it is, if I need to do any barrel cleaning or not. But that's my quick way of putting a little bit of oil through the barrel, wiping down any excess residue. So I usually just do that twice. And just take these same things. 3 of them will get me all the way to the end, and then the 2 in the rear just kind of fall out. All right. And so if you look at that, it came out pretty clean. I take that same one, and usually I clean just kind of get that area outside cleaned up. And that's about it for my style of cleaning. I'm going to take 1 drop of oil. It was actually a couple. And I'm just going to take that, and I usually get a good drop of oil on the base here of the receiver, or the top, since that's where the bolt is going to slide. I'll take that bolt, slide it in, and then just remove the paper clip. Bolts back into place. I take a bit of oil and rub it down. I use the Kid buffer, so it's a rubber around a metal. I just think that provides an easy way to kind of push it in and get it in. I forgot to put in the cleaning hole. So this has a cleaning hole. When you do need to clear the barrel, you can just stick a rod all the way through your barrel versus having to try to navigate sticking it inside of the receiver. So we'll plug that hole right there, and then we can put our bolt stop back in. I usually put the rubber piece in first, and then I'll just grab the metal bar and slide it in, and then just make sure that you push each so that it's flush on the rear of the bolt. Put our charging handle back on. And I'm just going to take one of those oil-based squares, wipe down the trigger for housing around the edges, wipe down the hammer, wipe down the backup extractor, make sure everything's good to go. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take a little oil and put it on the edge of a Q-tip, and I'm just going to kind of wipe a little bit down inside the trigger along the spring here. A little bit around the extractor, just to kind of keep it tidy. I know it's not necessarily dirty in here, but it's not necessarily clean either, so I just like to give it a good wipe down. Make sure it's got a light sheen of oil. At that point, we can put our trigger back in. And rifle's reassembled, ready to go. I'll wipe any excess oil off or anything and get ready to put it back in the chassis. And so I did this a little different when I put it on earlier. I took the trigger out from the bottom, but this time I'm just going to take the whole rifle and slide it into the chassis as one unit. And it's back in the chassis. And as you can see, we're good to go. I can take the chassis screw, put that back in, and then get a good snug tightening, and that's it. Pretty quick to clean. The Tactical Solutions X-Ring aftermarket barrel from Tactical Solutions that sits on here, spiral fluted, about 12 ounces. And then I run a quartz and trigger and a Seymour 8 MOA dot, the aluminum body, and everything else is from Wiland. The cheek rest, the butt stock here, the chassis itself, the printed grip, and the front fiber sleeve all comes together as a unit. And so just to kind of finish off, let's put our final piece on. So that was from dirty to clean and back to ready to go. I'll wipe it down one more time with the t-shirt. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Mind in the Box. My name is Carlos with a K. This is my Tactical Solutions X-Ring 22 long rifle for steel challenge shooting. Thanks, crew. See you next time. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Mind in the Box. My name is Carlos with a K. This is my Tactical Solutions X-Ring 22 long rifle for steel challenge shooting. Thanks, crew. See you next time.